Back on the Y2K front, despite all the assurances that the Y2K computer problems are under control, at a cost of $100 million in this country, a lot of Americans nonetheless are taking no chances. They're prepared to survive no matter what happens.
Y2K stands for year 2000 because the K stands for kilo, which is a measure of 1,000. When complicated computer programs were being written from 1960s to the 1980s, dates on computers were in two-digit codes, and 19 was not included, but implied. So 1970 was written as 70, and so on. This was in order to save on space and cost throughout that time. The problem was that many feared once the clocks hit January 1st, 2000, that computers and programs would interpret it as 00, and they wouldn't be able to tell whether it was 2000 or 1900. For the United States government's intervention, President Bill Clinton on October 19, 1998 began National Y2K Action Week, which was led by the President's Council on Year 2000 Conversion. American utility companies spent hundreds of millions working on the problem, and in testimony before the Senate, several reported that the measures that they put in place prevented widespread failures. Citizens, afraid records of their bank accounts would be wiped out because of the year 2000 problem, withdrew large sums of money and stashed them away, along with supplies, anywhere from gallons of water to canned food and lamps. Pretty much anything you need in case of power outage or natural disaster. Because as far as they knew, civilization was about to crumble. Okay, so when did you first hear of Y2K?
First heard of Y2K about 1996 or 97. I was working at Boeing, and they came around and told us there was going to be a problem with the year problem. So.
Okay, how did your workplace handle it?
So at work, they knew that there was going to be some problems with the databases and in the two-digit year in the database versus a four-digit year. Because up until that point, like computers started in 1960, and so they only had to worry about the last two digits of the year, like 1960 and 1970. So they would just put a 60 or a 70 in the database. But with the year flipping over past 1900s, they had to worry about a four-digit date being put in the database. So there was two things we had to do. We either had to configure the database to handle four-digit year, or the workaround was to keep the two-digit year, and they divided it into two sections. So if the year was between 0 and 50, they would put a 20 in front of the two-digit year, so it would be 2001, 2049. But if the year was between 50 and 99, they would keep the 19 in front of the year and then keep the two-digit year. But all that did is actually it just moved the Y2K problem out from being at the year 2000 to being to the year 2050. But they figured it was going to be okay to do that, because by the time 2050 came around, the computers would be all gone by then. They have new computers. So that, and they brought in a bunch of contractors, because we had a lot of code that we had to look at to make sure that we weren't hard coding 19 and then two digits after it. So they had a lot of people scouring through all the code, and they did it all the time. So.
Okay, what about your personal computer?
On the personal computer, Microsoft had to put out a lot of patches for Microsoft Windows, because most people on their PC, they have Microsoft Windows. Apple also did it for the Macintoshes, but they put out patches to all their programs, like Windows, to Word, to Office, all the programs, to make sure that it would handle the rollover from 19 to 20 correctly. And so I put all the patches on my computer, and the night before, or the night of, I actually stayed up and I had my computer on and I was watching it to make sure, and it went to 11:59, and I was waiting at midnight and nothing happened, so I was okay. I turned it off and went to bed.
What precautions did you take, like stocking up food?
Oh yeah, so people thought that, well, there was a big question of whether the whole electrical grid was going to go down, whether the nuclear reactors were going to all explode. I mean, if any computer glitch caused any utility problem, it was going to be huge for the whole world. And so people were wondering, oh, okay, if the electricity goes down, what are we going to do? We can't heat up anything. So a lot of people stockpiled like cans of food, ready to eat food. So I did that. I bought like 2 weeks worth of food for the family. I bought a bunch of extra water in case the water, you couldn't go to the store. A lot of people were stockpiling a lot of things. So there was whole industries set up like just on the fly to deal with selling people Y2K stuff because they couldn't sell it fast enough, and people were making a lot of money selling meals ready to eat. You could order them on the internet. I did some of that too. So. Yeah.
All right.